Shut up and sit down.
Hello gang, Colin here, Festa 67's workshop, and we are on part 2 of the Death Race Mustang, and I'm just going to trim out these rear wheel arches now, because if you remember rightly we masked the body shell in episode 1, so I'm just going to start beautifying this a little bit, just to get a few more shapes and trim off the excess that I don't need for when we start drawing on the panels and body armour that I'm going to be using. So I'm trying not to do a captain's stabby, but yeah, I'm sure by the end of this video I would have cut myself somewhere. So I'll just work my way around the car, just stab the knife through the tape, and using the edge of the plastic I'm just running the blade along it almost in a sawing action, and it just nips the tape off enough for me to get a view of what I'm looking at. So I can just run it along there as well, get rid of that, because I'm going to be masking up to put an armour plate as well on the bottom of the car, and we can get that then in the CAD program, use it for measuring and draw up all the body plates. So just scribe this one and get this out of the way. Now a lot of the armour is going to be 3D printed, but there's also going to be some styrene that's going straight on the body shell, because it's pointless me 3D printing a piece of flat plastic when a styrene sheet's flat anyway. So there's a bit of both going on this kit, but some of the more complex curves and things like that I should just do in the CAD, because I'm a bit wobbly with my hands now, and yeah, I can get a better result on the 3D printer now than I can cutting with my own hands a lot of the time. So if you've got the tools, use them, that's my motto. So we're on the last arch now, get rid of that. I'm actually doing well here, I've not drawn blood yet, so yeah. There you go. And I'll end up building a nice pile of tape on the edge of the desk there, and then I'll end up leaning on it and remove all my arm hair, and then me going, what's that hairy little ball on the end of my bench doing? Yeah. So we'll just pick off that last little bit, because it's been a bit stubborn. Like that. Pop that out of the way, and then probably run it along the sides here, around the lights, that sort of thing. And I'm going to be forming the front spoiler out of flat styrene strips, so that will go on once I've put the armour plate on underneath. I've got some headlight plates to make and things like that, so it's going to be a lot. Probably the first 3 or 4 episodes is just going to be chopping bits out, creating bits of 3D printed stuff or armour plating, and a lot of sort of random bits just been glued on the body shell, and then it'll start come together later on in the series. Once I've got a bit of primer on it, we can then start seeing the overall look of the car. So apologies for the first few episodes, it's going to be a bit of a mishmash of colours and different plastics and stuff getting put on it, but bear with me, it will take shape, and I will randomly chuck up a photograph of what it is I'm building, or section of the car I'm building, and what I'm trying to achieve, just to help you visualise what I can see on the screen. Because in my monitor, in the next to the one I'm filming on, I'm looking up, and I've got a double monitor set up here, and on one of the monitors I've got like a top view of the car looking down, and then on the other monitor I've got a profile view of the driver's side. It's a left hooker, and I'm using them as a working tool just to try to get an idea of what I'm creating. So I'll put them pictures up in a moment and drop them up randomly through the next few episodes as I'm doing like a wheel arch or whatever. I'll just pop the picture up and go, look, that's the wheel arch I'm trying to create, and this is what I'm using to try to make a facsimile of that piece, just to help you guys out and follow along. So we'll start drawing on the roof bits and bobs now, and they are literally just some straight pieces of metal strip that were welded to the roof there. So I'll follow the contours of the roof, and I tend to put me finger against the window shut, measure distance I want, and then I'll run my finger along the edge of the frame there, and it will give you a line that is reasonably the right distance away from what you want. So we'll carry on doing that, and it's going to be like a big letter H across the roof. You know, that's all it is beam down the centre and sides, and front and back. So it's, yeah, a couple of letter H's, one rotated round, so yeah, or a square 8. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I don't get out much, that's my excuse. Anyway, we'll carry on drawing these, and this way of doing it's something I've done right back since year dot, and I've often been asked by people, you know, oh, do you do it by eye, do you do it in your head? And yeah, it's one of them. When I used to do the petrol tanks and things like that, you would draw on the sheet metal the lines that you wanted, etc., and trim it and do what you needed to do. And I've kind of translated that into the model making. Quite often you'll see, if I'm building something, I'm peeling a bit of tape off with pencil lines all over it, and it's because I've used it as a template. But this is the first time I've actually filmed the process because I've been asked to, and it lets folks see that, you know, this is how I do it. You can adapt it, change it, or do it your own way, but it saves drawing on the actual kit as well. So, like I say, once I've started gluing bits on and I've got the bits on and in place, once it's all dried, I'll then go over the whole kit with a couple of cotton buds and some IPA, and if there is any residue left from the masking tape, I can wash it all off before I prime. So, but I mean, I've used blue tape before, the plumbers or the decorators tape, but my eyesight's a bit ropey and I don't always see the pencil lines, so I've gone back to using the masking tape. But you know, it's cheaper than Tamiya tape at the end of the day, so we'll carry on whopping that line over the top there. And again, bear in mind that this is a motor that's fabricated in prison, so they're not going to have all the latest gadgets and that. They're going to have a load of old knackered metal that the wardens let them use, and they're not going to be too worried about, you know, oh, it's not equidistal on each end, or that piece of metal's been welded on crooked. They ain't worried about that. And it adds a bit of realism. But you've got plates that go across the bonnet as well, sort of about a third of the way, or just under a third of the way along. So I'm just going to put in a curve and some mark lines for that, but the plate itself will go in a straight line across the bonnet, but I'm going to be sectioning off part of the front of the bonnet because there's a join where the scoop comes up, and this is what I'm marking now. So this will then be cut, removed, glued to the top of the body shell, and then the bonnet itself will open up where I'm drawing this current line. You've got to raise the double scoop to go in with a divider down the middle there, so, and then probably about a centimetre back from where I'm drawing this line will be a straight line that will go across the bonnet, which will then be styrene that will be glued. But I'm actually going to use the bonnet section, and I'm going to, in a moment, I'll be drawing down the bonnet where the scoop will go, and I'll actually be cutting that piece out using the bonnet's own curves, and then I'll do some side pieces that will raise it up out of flat styrene. So I'm just going to put in a couple of marker lines roughly where them uprights are going to go, and then I can figure out how the scoop itself is going to look. So it should give you guys an idea on what I'm up to when you look at the photographs that I put up. You'll see the scoop and all of that, and yeah, it's an interesting feature, but trying to draw it in a two-dimensional way on the tape is a bit difficult. But you know, I kind of know through doing this before where I want to be with these lines. So we'll just turn it around. I'll run my nail along, or remains of me nail, along the side of the wheel arch there, and then I'll start sketching the curve of that, because there's going to be plates that come down and arch plates that go in, and yeah, this is the fun part, because it lets you start visualizing what's in your head, you know, and what I'm seeing on my monitors as pictures of the car. But when you're actually recording a build series, you can't always get it across to the viewer what you're seeing. So hopefully we've hit on a formula that might work. What I could do is I could keep an image of the car up in the bottom corner of the screen. So again, you know, if anyone is following this video, if that would be easier, that you can see what I'm aiming for as a picture in the corner and you don't find it too distracting, then I'll pop a permanent picture up in the corner there of the car, and we'll have a go. If it works, it works, and if it don't, I'll remove it. So that's where the plating's going to go across the bonnet. I'll just scribe a pencil line down the sides of the wings there where the bonnet shut's going to be, just so that I can actually see where it opens and closes, and then I can start forming my panels. And I'll just put little dots on where there's going to be bolt heads visible and rivet heads or whatever. Do the same that side there. And like I say, these curved sections will be done on the 3D printer. Some of the flat plates going over the bonnet, they'll just be standard A4 styrene sheet. So just using the contours of the bonnet now to start marking out the line that goes down towards the windscreen. And this is the section of bonnet or part of this line is going to be removed. So you'll probably have about 15 mil from the windscreen will stay, and then a rectangle will get removed, and that'll then get raised at an angle to form the scoop bulge. So yeah, can't beat a bit of scoopage. Well, rather than use a flat piece of styrene to try and replicate it, I might as well make it a functional piece. And then I'll just ghost in the area where the machine guns are going to go. This will be a raised angled piece of styrene that will come up in a strip, and then the double Gatling guns will hang from that and fire out across the bonnet. So yeah, I could imagine the temptation that Jason Statham must have had when they shot this movie. Wouldn't you have wanted just to go down the local motorway, the interstate, in this Mustang with the big ass Gatling guns on it, and just amble through the rush hour traffic just to see what the other drivers would make of it? I wonder how many people would have moved out of his way and let him through. I wouldn't have been able to resist that temptation myself. I would have said to the producer, can I just borrow this? I just want to scoot back to my house and make myself a sandwich, and I want to see how quick I can get through the rush hour. Especially if it makes a noise and you make the firing sound with the Gatling guns. You can imagine the guy in the Prius in front of you is going to go, I think I'll move. Just a thought. It's just how my mind works. So we'll start putting in the curve for the front and the rear edges of the door. Now I've got to make the suicide doors, don't forget. So these will be functional. And the top half of the door folds down on a piano hinge. So yeah. So we'll just put in some big old juicy bolt heads. And I'll make the door panels on the 3D printer, probably scribe them to form the contours of the car. And when it comes to removing the door, I'm going to have a go to see whether I can retain the frame, but it's going to be such a tiny thin bit of plastic that I might end up just scratch building a complete new frame. I don't know, I'll see. But yeah, and then again you've got the gills that come up just behind the door here, but I need to get the doors cut, hinged, open and close the doors to their maximum travel, and then scribe a line around the contour of the door, and that forms the curve on the front of that gill. Because if I make it and I don't get the shape quite right, when the suicide door opens, it's going to hit it, and it's not going to let the door open. So bear that in mind. See, so as you can see now, we are taking shape, putting in some angled sections on the back, and this is going to be raised box section with bolts and some plates and bits of detritus in there, and then obviously what I've drawn on the other side translates onto this side of the car. So yeah, I'll turn my light on so I can see, sorry viewers, and then put the bolt heads on like so. Put a few in there, mark out where the door handle's going to be, but I'm going to shave them off anyway, the door handles, because I've got the plates going over them. So we don't need them. So once I've got the door off and cut and removed from the car, I can shave the handles off, and then whilst everything that's attached to the door is going off glue wise, I can then work with the door frames and make the door shuts and all of that lot, so that the doors have got something to close against. So we've got a big old curved piece that goes across here, and this is flat styrene sheet with box section behind it, and then it comes down roughly around that area, and again there's another box section that lives up there. So we're getting there. And then the tombstone itself is just made up of loads and loads of thick flat angle irons, so that will be done on the CAD program in a minute. So we'll pop that to one side and we'll show a bit of CAD. So this is a little free online CAD package you can use called CAD, and as you can see, I've laid out various plates, arches and panels that I'll then be exporting as STL files for the 3D printer. Now I've also got Autodesk AutoCAD, which is a paid package, and another free one called FreeCAD. So I've got quite a few CAD options, but if I want to get more advanced with stuff, then obviously I would use the Autodesk. But majority of stuff I 3D print for models, CAD will do. So you can see the tombstone there, there's the underneath armour for the body. The rings are the wheel arches that I'll be cutting in half, so each ring will form front and rear arches a pair. You then got the Gatling guns, which was formed out of tubes, circles and blocks, but I'll probably cut the guns off and just use the back part when it comes to printing them, because I've got a feeling styrene tube will work better. If I print them out complete, I'll see how they look, but I've just got a feeling they might be a bit thin on the 3D printer. So, because obviously I've got to scale this down to 1/25 scale. So yeah. So that's what I use as the CAD package. So the next time we join you, I'll have all this stuff printed and on the bench. But for now, I'm going to close once I've finished with the CAD here. The tombstone has got a triangle cut in it so that it hinges and joins together. But if I wrap this up for this episode, where we are, on the next episode all of this will be 3D printed and on the bench, and then that will let you see what it's going to look like around the car, because I can lay it all out on the cutting mat. So I think that's a good time to pause. Coming up I'll do a couple of little time lapses of these jobs going on the 3D printer, just to let some of you see how that's done. And until then, I would like to say to you thanks again for all your support on the Patreon and that. Thanks for supporting the channel, like, subscribe and hit the bell. Here you got the wheel arches being printed. Little 5-second time lapse there of the rear panels, like so. You then got the Gatling guns coming out. Yeah, all good stuff. And then the rear louvers. So catch you later.